This video is called 6 Things That I Learned from Reading The Might of Thought. Number 1. Thoughts, Feelings, and Emotions. The main message of this book is to remind us of the tremendous importance and power that our thoughts have. So let's define what a thought is. Thoughts are the result of thinking, and thinking is what you do with your mind. Thoughts are about things. Thoughts reference ideas. So people, places, actions, happenings, events. Thoughts can be about the future, or the past, or the present. Thoughts can also be about goals and dreams that we have. Or they can be opinions, judgments, or evaluations about things and ideas. So now let's talk about emotions and feelings. I found that this book really helped me understand the difference between the two. Before reading this book, I understood feelings and emotions to be kind of interchangeable. You know, things like happiness or sadness or fear or fright or love. But Billy uses these words very differently. For Billy, emotions are reactions, automatic reactions, things like your fight or flight response being turned on or rage. They are automatic responses to external stimuli. Feelings are understood as like states of being. So like feeling sad or feeling calm or feeling happy. And they are made up of thoughts. When I say that feelings are made up of thoughts, I mean that your perceptions and your ideas about the world all come together to influence the way you perceive your life, which is going to create a state in you. The implications of this are very interesting. It means that it's very, very difficult to control your emotional reactions because they are automatic responses to stimuli. However, it is possible to control your feelings because feelings are the result of accumulated thoughts and perceptions. Which brings us to point number 2, how feelings and thoughts can influence the psyche. I'm actually not an expert on the psyche or the gemut, but I thought I would just post this picture and then we would have a little bit of a discussion and somebody in the room can help explain what the psyche is exactly and how it works. My limited understanding of the psyche says that I know that the psyche can influence your health. I know that the psyche is your feeling-based center and connects to your spirit. And I know that the psyche also is connected to your thoughts and your emotions. So being that it connects to your physical health, being that it also connects to your spirit form, the psyche is very, very important. So the way to impact your psyche is through your thoughts. Because first it goes thoughts, and your thoughts will create feelings, and those feelings will have an impact in forming your psyche, and your psyche later connects to your spirit form. So again, your thought process, your thinking, is the only way to have a major impact on your psyche and your spirit. And that to me is very simple. The third thing that I learned in this book is clearing up some misconceptions that I had and we have about positive thinking. The first misconception that I had was about unconscious thoughts. Very often when someone is experiencing negative or problem-causing thoughts, I would always wonder, like, why can't they just think better? Like, what's wrong with them? And now I learned that it's very likely that people who are experiencing negative thoughts or problem thoughts are actually not choosing to, and that these thoughts are coming up as a result of previous preconditioned thoughts. So they're having these reactions unconsciously, which means that it's not their fault. And in that moment, they are not choosing their reactions. Something happened to them in the past, or they had previous thoughts which made it so that these thoughts are now coming up without their control. They are still always ultimately responsible for their own thinking and thoughts, but it's not as simple just to blame them, to say, oh, you know, it's your fault. This is where the work needs to be done, to go in and understand those previous thought patterns or those previous experiences that have conditioned people to act subliminally or unconsciously to whatever it is that's making them react the way that they don't want to react. This is where the work gets done. The second major misconception that I had about thinking was that positive thinking is always good. Positive thinking isn't always the answer. Positive thinking won't solve all of your problems. Which leads us to point 4. Neutral positive thinking is the right way to think. Neutral positive thinking will solve your problems. But before we get into neutral positive thinking, I think I want to explain that there are actually 4 different kinds of thoughts. At first, I thought there were only 2 kinds of thoughts, either positive thoughts, which are affirming yes thoughts, and negative thoughts, which are negating no thoughts. There's a second way to evaluate a thought, and that is based on its result and its connection to reality. So first, there are useful positive thoughts. Second, there are unuseful or bad positive thoughts. Third, you have useful negative thoughts. And fourth, you have unuseful, bad, negative thoughts. So for the first example, a positive thought that is beneficial is a positive thought that is true, that is correct, that is uplifting and evolutive. Second, you can have a positive thought that is actually false. So that's like saying yes to an idea that is incorrect. And these could be beliefs or just holding on to incorrect things. Next, we have negative thoughts that are untrue. These might be like self-hate or rejecting good things. And finally, we have negative thoughts that are actually true and beneficial. These might be thoughts related to caution or safety or warnings. So the neutral positive rule of thumb is trying to make sure you have your thoughts that are in line with reality, that support your evolution or that are evolutive, that contribute to your own striving, and that are balanced. Next, we're going to do a breakdown of chapter 9, which is, I think, a good summary of how the Might of Thought describes therapy and improving and healing your thoughts. So step 1 in this process is tracking down the distortions of reality, or identifying your triggers. This means identifying your problem-causing thoughts and any associated feelings or evaluations that are a result of these thoughts. Let's say whenever you see a dog, you feel tremendous fear. The key to this step is recognizing that dogs are making you afraid. This might seem like an obvious step, but really, you can do no work on yourself or on your thoughts without recognizing what parts of your thoughts you want to work on. Step 2, the recognition of distortions of reality, or understanding your triggers. This step is all about understanding the why you are having the problem thoughts that you're having. It's not enough just to recognize that there is a problem. You need to understand and recognize the causes and the source of the problem. And the way to do this is through self-reflection, through journaling or talking to a therapist, or just really taking the time to break down and try to understand your thought process, whether your thought process is conscious or unconscious. Because it's related to your thoughts, you can take time to look at it. Step 3 features the formation of new thoughts and attitudes. So let's say we discovered that the old thought was that all dogs are scary. A new, more neutral thought might be, not all dogs are scary, but only attacking dogs are scary. Notice that the new thought doesn't go all the way to say that all dogs are always safe, because that would be positive, degenerate, and false. Billy called step 4 the conscious, neutral, positive, equalized changing and new programming of the consciousness, thoughts, feelings, as well as the psyche and subconscious. But I just call it practice. This is about turning the new thought into a habit. The old thought, the problem-causing thought, was a habit before because it was happening without your consent and automatically, which means it was deeply written into your subconscious. So in order to override that, you have to practice and turn the new thought into a habit. This is where the work comes in, whether it's through conversations with a therapist or a friend, or exposure therapy where you're exposed to the problem-causing stimuli, or role play, or self-suggestion. This is the part where you reprogram your thinking in a more neutral, positive way. Point 6. I just think it's very important to note that throughout chapter 9, Billy was often making reference as to why self-therapy is very difficult. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to see your patterns, especially if you think your way of thinking is normal. It's very hard to point that out to yourself. It's also very difficult to create new lines of thought yourself, especially when your old lines of thought have become entrenched in habits and you feel that they are normal. You need to find new energy and new ways of seeing the world, and that is very difficult to come from yourself. Thank you for allowing me to share with you today.